And we begin in the south of Johannesburg because the Transport Department is conducting a scholar transport blitz in Lennasia. The initiative follows the deaths of pupils in the Vaal who died after being involved in that devastating scholar transport vehicle when their minibus taxi collided with a truck. The incident has once again shone a spotlight on safety, at least in scholar transport around the country. Watching the latest from this blitz is SABC News reporter Neria Hlakotsha, who joins us now live once again from the south of Johannesburg. And Neria, we have seen many frustrated operators there who now feel targeted because of what happened in the Vaal.
Definitely, I will tell you that scholar transport drivers here feel that they are being targeted, and most of them also mentioning that this will not go well in terms of their pockets. They will stand to lose a lot of money, and they feel that one person's mistake should not then be their problem, or one person's mistake then should not affect them the way it is now. When we spoke to the drivers, their issues are clear. It's that permit that allows them the right to drive or ferry children, and most of them are saying to us that they did apply for it, but they've been waiting and nothing seems to come forward. But another issue that the drivers are mentioning, Ayanda, is the issue of, yes, their cars are old, but how do they replace them? Because they simply do not have money to purchase new cars, and this is where they are saying that they would love if government then comes to the fore and government then tries to subsidize them one way or another. We do remember that the Minister, Creecy, was here this morning as part of this blitz operation. Right now, it's just the police that are still hanging around and doing those inspections. Petojo will also just show you now that some of the drivers are still just standing, some of them trying to negotiate, of course, with police. They've scattered into single groups at this moment. I don't know whether their discussions will actually bear fruit, because what we know is that all these impounded cars will be definitely taken away, and the Department of Transport saying that they are not negotiating this time around with these drivers, especially not after so many children lost their lives when a scholar transport driver crashed into that truck. Right now, though, I want to bring in Ayanda, another scholar transport driver who has basically the same issues in terms of why are they being targeted. Babzulu, he's been, I will tell you that he says he's been driving since 2010, and what is happening now for him is a concern. Babzulu, thank you so much for iskatsako.
Yes,
you know, we were just breaking down some of your concerns right now. You were even speaking that your other concern is the children not having a way to get to school.
Yes, sinenkinga enkulu ku government wethu ngathi udlala ngathi singabantu ngoba ekseni bafikile bathatha abantwana bahlisa abantwana emotweni zabanye bo driver bethu baba deliver bona, and abanye abantwana abancane, abanye abantwana bakhubazekile. Manje bayithatha imoto lezade ziletha abantwana la. Manje inkinga ukuthi ntambama abantwana nasesekufuneka babuyele esikoleni sebahambile abasekho, abantwana bazobuyela ngani? Bayalahleka abantwana, abazali bazobuza kithi asazi nathi ukuthi kufanele senzeni. Ugovernment wethu akasisize nathi ukuthi enze ukuthi mangabe abona ukuthi imoto zethu zindala asixhase, asimithe ukuthi asixhase, ngoba asinawo amandla ukuthi sithenge imoto ezintsha, ngoba noma ungayithenga imoto entsha kodwa ngemali oyithola yabantwana incane kakhulu ukuthi senzela ukuthi nje sibe nesikudlayo. Kodwa manje nabazosibulalela lokuncane sikudlayo sizakwenza njani? Sihlale eSouth Africa, akukho la sizoya khona. Njengami sengimdala mina na 69 years, umsebenzi zabuye ngithole kuphi? Manje ibhlungu kakhulu leyo nto, ibhlungu kakhulu nje ukuthi abantwana babantu laba babathathile babadrop esikoleni abasabathathi manje, bahambile abantwana bazohamba nobani ntambama.
But ugovernment uyasho babudlulu ukuthi lento ayenzayo ukwenza sure ukuthi abantwana baphephile endleleni, ukuthi imoto lezi esihamba nabo abahamba nazo rather zi right for indlela. Nina nithini ngalokho?
Zi right imoto indlela, sazama ukulungisa la silungisa ngakhona, siyalungisa imotweni lesilungisayo, sithathe leyo madlanyana encane silungisa imoto zethu zibe right, sikwazi ukuthi nathi sidle, ngoba lo msebenzi esiwenza imali esitholayo ayikho, incane kakhulu. Kodwa ke manje ugovernment akasizeke naye athi nako enginichasa ngayo enikwazi ukuthi nifake kuko asisoleke la sola khona government kodwa manje sola government akenzi lutho akasinika lutho siyayisokolela nje siyithathela la siyithathela khona.
Nina nenza njani ukuthi nibonise niyenze sure ukuthi abantwana baphephile endleleni because sibonile eVanderbijl kwenzakaleni wena as a school driver wenza kanjani ukuthi abantwana bahlale baphephile endleleni?
Ukudrive endleleni ufuna udrive kahle ungagijimi ispeed la uhamba kuyakhona kahle ulandele imithetho yonke yomgwaqo ukuthi abantwana ispeed high speed ayisebenzi ubone ukuthi la kufanele overtake khona overtake la kungafanele khona overtake overtake kodwa ke ebuhlungu laseVanderbijl indaba ukuthi abantwana balimele asazi ukuthi emqondweni walo driver kuklike ini ngoba benayo ichance ukuthi angabuyelela inini yakhe asave abantwana kodwa abantwana ukwazile ukuthi abalimaza abantwana isixolisa kakhulu kulabo bazali abalahlekelele abantwana nathi sibhlungu kakhulu sithi umndeni uphephe kakhulu kepha sithi nje abadriver bethu abadrive imoto badrive safely yes ingozi eyodwa yenzakele kodwa manje ngeke sesithi ke yonke ingozi sesibalela lapho iyodwa yenzakele but ke no government naye akazami ukuthi ama traffic cop abe khona la endleleni ekseni kwenzakala ukuthi abantu bakwazi ukuthi basabe nokugijima no overtake la kungekho khona ngoba ekseni masiza ngapha sihambela sodwa ama traffic cop awekho la silusayo bo JMPD abekho ukuthi basiluse sikwazi ukuthi sihambe kahle makungaba nama traffic cop endleleni ukuthi asiluse nantambama kungaba kuhle kakhulu.
There you have it, Ayanda, from Babu Dludlu, who is a Scholar Transport driver. You know, something that he mentioned here is the visibility and the lack of visibility, especially law enforcement on the road. And it is important because even after the tragic incident in Reiger Park, that was highlighted, you know, government saying, of course, now it's the time that they increase visibility on the roads, especially law enforcement. You must remember that Premier Panyaza Lesufi was even proud to say that now he's put an integrated approach where police from any region in Gauteng can be able to enforce the law. And him saying that is basically him saying that he's hoping now that there will be law enforcement on the road. There will be traffic ops, if you want to say. And, you know, another issue, once again, coming out, the issue of government not helping them. But one has to wonder, of course, that yes, if government helps, what then do Scholar Transport drivers need to put also on the table? The issue of old cars, again, coming back, where the gentleman is saying that there's nothing they can do. They have no money to replace old cars, and this is the least they can do. They will fix it here and there, but they can't completely fix everything. And I think it goes back to what the president was saying, that we need stricter regulation, like in other countries, according to the president. We need those minibuses or the buses even that are written even that Scholar Transport. You know, the president was saying that basically to show that in that case, then we will know who is a Scholar Transport driver and who is not. Because right now, I will tell you that when you look at these cars, they just look like a simple public transport that you could just take to go to town. And now the argument is that they need to show, they need to have that level of showing that they are Scholar Transport. The people are just now standing around, basically, Ayanda. So I'm just going to cross back to you just to also gather more information to see what is their way forward right now, especially with those 67 drivers whose cars have been impounded, and of course the 3 that are arrested in terms of what happens now with them. And maybe let's just also, Ayanda, let's play that clip by the Minister of Transport, Barbara Creecy, this morning.
What we are doing this morning is we are having a blitz on Scholar Transport in Lennasia. Following that terrible accident, we convened a meeting of all MECs across the country to develop a program of further enforcement activities that target specifically private Scholar Transport. You would know last week and the week before we were very busy checking all the buses buses that are procured by the Department of Education across the country. But these private scholar transport vehicles are procured by parents, not by the Department of Education. I think we know they're called Malome, and of course, many of these vehicles are not roadworthy. The drivers are not licensed to carry passengers. So there's a requirement in the law that they have to have what's called a PDP, a public driver's license permit. And of course, the vehicles have to be roadworthy and have to be permitted. And we're finding that these aspects of the law are not being complied with, and we need greater enforcement. But of course, we are very concerned, as you know, about the issue of driver behavior. And already the preliminary investigation into that terrible accident on Monday is indicating that once again, unfortunately, driver behavior was involved in this accident.
As we were closing off our festive season road safety campaign, we said we are now focusing on scholar transport, and we've been working closely with our municipalities, traffic departments, as Department of Roads and Transport, as well as Department of Community Safety in our province. And one of the things that we said we should focus on in this term is scholar transport. As the Department of Roads and Transport, we've been in the past year trying to organize scholar transport operators. We now have 2 associations that are recognized. We have 2 types of scholar transport in Gauteng. We've got scholar transport that is subsidized by government, that we have control over as government. Then there's these private ones, which I say we spent almost half of the year last year trying to organize them, trying to workshop them, because as and when we are on the ground with law enforcement, there has been gaps identified that these are people who think this is just a business, they can just do as they wish. So they need to be enlightened. And we've been working with GETS, the Gauteng Education Transport Service providers, as well as the Gauteng Learner Transport operators in Gauteng, to workshop them, to coordinate them. But also what we have realized that there's a gap on regulation. And we've been trying to put together what we call a Gauteng Standard Operating Procedure for Gauteng scholar transport operators. It's done. It's in a draft format. Obviously, in a democratic country, we must do consultations, and that's what we've been busy with.
The Transport MEC in Gauteng speaking earlier at the blitz currently underway in Lennasia. That's where Neria Hlakotsha is still garnering reaction from some of the affected operators there, Neria. And part of the question, I imagine, for those operators whose cars have now been impounded is what happens next?
Yes, definitely, Ayanda. Some of these drivers here are worried that where to from here now that their cars have been impounded. And like you've heard, most of them saying that the issue in South Africa is that of unemployment. And most of them, like the gentleman we spoke to earlier, saying he's 69 now, then what needs to happen? But you heard the MEC saying that most of these drivers think this can be just a side job that they do. But this should be a service that is regulated. This should be a service that they are also at least registered with the department itself. You know, there's those associations that are also affiliated or registered with the department, and one of them is GETS, and we did in fact manage to speak to GETS just the other day, and they were telling us that it's important for drivers not to see this as just a personal gain, but for the fact that they're giving services for money. They should know the seriousness of this and not just take it as something that they have a car, then it means they can do that. But I want to collect then more views from these drivers, and you will hear the overarching view remains that, you know, they're worried that their cars are gone, and what then does it mean for them? Puti nyabonga kakhulu for isikhathi sakho. Asisho ukuthi manje sekwenzakele lokho sikubonayo namhlanje. I-concern yakho yini and kwenzakalani ukuya forward from this?
Angazi konzakalani nje ngamanje.
Ithi uzama ukubheka ngapha bhuti wami ukuthi ukhona ukubonakala kahle.
Yeah. Hayi angazi kokwenzakalana kusukela manje kuya phambili. Ngoba phela izinto imoto ithathiwe asazi kokwenzakalana. Ngoba imoto ziyadinga ukuthi ibuye so.
Siyabonga baba.
Lezi moto sidla ngazo lezi.
All right, siyabonga baba. You can hear the Ayanda. They are clear that now that these cars have been impounded, they need to come back because they are hungry. They will need that money to at least put food on the table. As I said earlier on, this is a tricky situation. It's not easy as we all thought it would be because there's drivers here complaining about where will they now get money from to feed their families. And there's the department this side saying this is necessary, this is imperative to ensure that children are safe on the roads.
Neria Hlakotsha doing a great job at bringing us that story. Let me thank you for now. Neria is reporting live from the south of Johannesburg.